25 years ago, Robert Lee Stinson was convicted of murder and sentenced to life. The only evidence against him at trial was a bite mark left on the victim's skin. 2 bite mark examiners claimed that the bite mark had to have been made by teeth identical to Stinson's, and that there was no margin for error in their conclusion. But after 20 years in prison, new evidence revealed that Stinson was not the perpetrator, and he was released. The jury made a huge mistake, but how could they have gotten it so wrong? Well, there was actually no evidence to support the practice of bite mark comparison. In fact, an inquiry into forensic science found that examiners aren't just bad at determining who a bite mark comes from, but they can't even agree on whether an injury is a bite mark at all. The examiners in Stinson's case had exaggerated their claims, and the jury was none the wiser. Unfortunately, this is not an isolated case. In the United States, over 2,400 people have been wrongfully convicted of crimes they didn't commit. A quarter of those wrongful convictions have been due to false or misleading forensic evidence. These are those people. Forensic examiners now use probabilities to communicate the uncertain nature of their conclusions. The problem? People have a hard time understanding probabilities, and I've shown that probabilities don't help jurors distinguish between strong and weak evidence. Clearly, there's a need for a better approach, one that's not just scientifically accurate, but one that jurors can easily understand, evaluate, and apply. In my research, I've been figuring out how to do just that. So I looked to the field of medicine for help, a field that's constantly dealing with decisions that have varying degrees of error. Imagine that you were to have a scan to determine whether or not you have a life-threatening tumour. There are probably a few key things you'd want to know, like just how good is the examiner at determining whether or not a dangerous tumour exists, and how many times do they miss the tumour. I saw how doctors explain this information about error and uncertainty to patients and apply this to forensic testimony. Over multiple lab-based experiments with thousands of mock jurors, I found that they were far better able to understand forensic testimony using this error-based approach compared to using probabilities. By ensuring that forensic evidence is presented in an accurate way and going from trial and error to trials with error, we can ensure that jurors are better equipped to ensure that true perpetrators are brought to justice, but that innocent people like Stinson and these are free.